you want to like them, but you can't.
Are you listening?
What?
Are you listening?
Did you bring me on this show to insult me?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all don't want it with us, man. We straight gangsters over here.
Straight
man.
gangsters. Yeah, good morning and welcome back. You are listening to Scout Team Radio. We are here each and every morning, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. on 12-ounce Sports Radio. I am one of your gracious hosts. They call me Loudbeard.
You are the most egotistical, self-deluded person I have ever met.
You just saying that because you're hating on the hater right here, right now. And the man on the other microphone, he is a great American. He is a great patriot, and he is just that other guy on the microphone.
America.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is your boy Chris America coming to you live this Monday, November the 11th, 2019. Or is it the 10th? No, it's the 11th. It is Veterans Day, and we salute you. For those about to rock, we salute you. I hate AC/DC, by the way, Loudbeard.
Well, based on your impersonation of AC/DC, I see why you hate AC/DC.
Because I'm bad at doing it?
Yes. That I would hate them, too, if I was that bad.
All right.
You're
I just
welcome.
hate that they're so repetitive. All
Like
their songs sound the same.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm not a huge AC/DC fan. I mean, they've got some catchy tunes, some classic songs that they're unforgettable songs. I mean, I get that there's some value there, something good about AC/DC, but would I ever say like, man, I'm in the mood for an AC/DC song right about now? No, I don't think I've ever caught myself saying that.
No, you've never been on the road and you're like, I'm going to pop in Big Balls right now.
Yep. I'm with you on that one. AC/DC not so good. So Chris America, I was kind of half expecting the man with the golden mic to jump on. We had like a double dose last week, and this week, who knows when he'll come on? I mean, or if he will.
I know that he probably was at Applebee's hitting up those $1 vodka cranberry lemonades. So he might be a little hungover this morning.
Yeah, I told him to invite me, but he's very selfish. He just likes to go by himself. He wants to drink all of it for himself.
Yeah, he didn't want you to, like, if they ran out of the cranberry or the lemonade, he didn't want you to be there to take the last drop. Because he can't just have straight vodka. He needs the cranberry. He needs the lemonade.
Yeah, he needs it. He needs it all. He likes the fruitiness. He says he's a very fruity guy, and the fruitiness is really what keeps him going each and every morning. So, maybe he needs a morning cranberry lemonade vodka.
Yeah, I mean,
tonic.
His Seminoles won on Saturday, and then, believe it or not, Loudbeard, FSU for the 6th year in a row beat my Florida Gators on the basketball court. That was embarrassing. And then his Packers beat my Panthers. So he was definitely throwing down the vodka cranberry lemonades last night.
Yeah, and this would have been a perfect show for him to come on because he could have rubbed something into your face, right? Like this was the one opportunity.
Probably a vodka cranberry lemonade in my face.
Yes. Well, that wouldn't have actually been too bad. And here's an interesting side fact for you. I hope this makes you feel a little bit better. Your football team scored more points than your basketball team. That's how you know it was a good weekend.
Yeah. Not when it's against Vanderbilt. The good news about us winning 56-0 against Vanderbilt is at least that is something that we're back to normal with my Florida Gators football team, because the last 10 years, I got to tell you, they've struggled way too much with the Vanderbilt Commodores. So 56-0, that brings me back to the good old days of Florida football. So I took that as, you know what, we're right on track. We're right where we need to be. First, you have to beat Vanderbilt 56-0. Then the next step is beating the Georgias, then beating the Alabamas, who took quite the whooping on Saturday night.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call it quite the whooping. They did get behind pretty bad
Yeah.
at one point during that game, but they hung tough. And when you look at the final score, not as bad as what the game would have indicated. So the final score looks a little bit better. And they had fight left in them. Tua was bringing this team back, but the real big story here, Joe Burrows, man. This guy is one of these quarterbacks that just keeps doing everything right. Everything he's doing is the right moves, and from his progression from last season to this season, I mean, the guy has improved 300%. And I don't know, man. This Heisman discussion with Joe Burrows in it, I can't say that I disagree with it. I think Burrows right now, man, he's one of those people that is really sneakily good in the Heisman talk.
No, he really is, and his Heisman moment was definitely that game, just shredding apart that defense. And I said they beat him up. I really just meant they beat up that offense or that defense. They beat up that scoreboard. What was the final score? Like 45-41? And what happened to defense in the SEC, Loudbeard? I thought defenses had SEC was nothing but defense. And here we have a 45-41 score, and nobody's sitting there saying, oh, the defenses in the SEC are trash. I've always said this. It's not that the SEC plays great defense. I mean, they do. There are some good defensive teams out there. But for the majority, they're just like everybody else. The difference is the SEC never has quarterbacks like Joe Burrow and Tua Tagovailoa throwing the ball. And these guys have had zero problem throughout this entire season lighting up the scoreboard against SEC defenses. And I really think that we need to start saying that the SEC doesn't play offense instead of, that their defenses are great. Kind of like we say the Big 12 doesn't play defense. No, they just have good quarterbacks and good quarterbacking coaching out in the Big 12.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And, the SEC also has that benefit of, they're very top heavy on the top end, but they've got some bad teams on the bottom end. So you get to see like a team like Florida beat up on a Vanderbilt pretty easily. And some of these teams get confidence as they come through. And then when you do finally see two Titans come together like LSU and Alabama, they become more of an offensive teams than they become of defensive teams, even though historically LSU and Alabama are both known for being great defenses.
Yeah.
Saturday night or Saturday day, we did not see two great defenses. We saw two outstanding offenses led by probably the two best quarterbacks in the nation or two of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the nation.
Yeah, and you mentioned, it's very top heavy and you go down to the bottom. South Carolina lost to Appalachian State this weekend. South Carolina. That's supposed to be your middle of the road SEC team losing to a Sun Belt team. Now, it is Appalachian State, and Appalachian State did beat UNC, but then again, UNC also beat South Carolina. So I guess it does make sense that if UNC beat South Carolina and Appalachian State beat UNC, that they would go in and beat South Carolina. That's what happened. That was kind of like the transitive property being proven right in front of us.
This is very true. In all fairness, App State, other than one awful loss, has had an outstanding season. One loss on that record. What is this? They're now up to 9-1 after that win against South Carolina.
Yep.
So it's not like App State's just like a terrible team. I mean, I would say South Carolina losing to them wasn't the end of the world. But you're right. South Carolina right now, they're very mediocre. They do have that big win against Georgia, which they're going to hang on to that one. And other than that, I mean, they're very middle of the road. And you're right that on the SEC side, if you have a team that loses to a team to the Sun Belt, I mean, that doesn't look good for this almighty SEC. Can't do anything wrong.
We're the best conference in the world.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what they come off as. Though right now, we talked about this last week, but I got some statistics here for you, and I guess it's a good time to bring it up. So the AP poll comes out, and there was some, moving and shaking. A lot of teams with some losses this week. So it looks like we're starting to kind of see what the end of the season rankings are going to look like. We don't know what the CFP rankings are yet. I don't believe they come out till Tuesdays, which seems late. Maybe Monday nights. I don't know. They're not out yet, but the AP poll comes out, and I'm looking at these conferences, and the Big Ten right now has 7 teams in the top 25 on the AP poll. 7 teams, including number 2 and number 7. So what's that? Ohio State and Minnesota, and number 9, which I believe Penn State fell to. So pretty strong showing for the Big Ten. They have
Where did Alabama fall in that poll?
I believe they fell to 5.
So, and I'm going to be really curious as to where the College Football Playoff Committee, the Invitational Committee, puts Minnesota, because Minnesota is undefeated, and they have a quality win that Alabama does not have.
Oh,
so
yeah,
there's
looking
absolutely,
at the AP poll, they fell to
Go ahead.
4 on the AP poll.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
my
I wanted to
God.
correct myself. Yes.
They fell to 4.
Yep, from 2 to 4. They took this was a historical fall for Alabama.
Like, Alabama lost at home. Minnesota won against their quality opponent at home. And it's just, again, it just goes to show you, if Alabama played Minnesota's schedule and they beat Penn State, they would probably be the number 1 overall team. If not, they would definitely be top 3.
Yeah. Now, Minnesota did get a little bit of love, which I'm really starting to like this team. But they jumped from 17, which was totally disrespectful to begin with, up to 7. So they get 10-spot jump for beating Penn State, which they probably should have gone up to 5 or 4 at this point, because if you look at undefeated teams, LSU, Ohio State, and Clemson sitting at 1, 2, and 3, and then you got to go all the way down to 7, past Alabama, who has 1 loss, past Georgia, who has 1 loss, past Oregon, who has 1 loss, and then you get to Minnesota, and I just it's just, to me, disrespectful. If Minnesota continues to win like they're winning, they should be up there. And on a side note, Baylor sitting at 9-0 at number 12. I think that's a little disrespectful also. But, who am I to judge?
Well, you also look at Penn State and how much they fell because they lost to Minnesota. Again, Penn State, probably a much better schedule than what Alabama's been playing, has 1 loss just like Alabama, 1 quality loss to an undefeated opponent. And it's annoying, Loudbeard. It's getting old, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Alabama's getting way too much love in this. We were already talking about how this was getting set up for this, right? So we hyped up LSU and Alabama, bring them all the way up to the top of the rankings, put them at 2 and 3, so that when they do play each other, if one of them loses, they really don't lose, right? If you're still sitting Alabama at number 4 in this poll, and we're not sure where the CFP is going to rank them, but you're basically saying you lost this week at home, and you are still considered to be one of the top 4 teams and will make the college football playoffs based on your current record. To me, that's just wrong. That's just wrong. They should have dropped to 6 or 7. I think that would have been fair, and we moved some of these other teams up. And Minnesota, I'm going to say it right now, they should be in the top 4 right now. Minnesota should be in the top 4 right now.
Mm-hmm. If you're going to go with the whole stupid logic that they always use, oh, look at their schedule, look who they played, look at their quality wins, let's compare apples to apples. Well, if you compare the schedule of Alabama and the schedule of Minnesota, just by the fact that they played Penn State and won, shows that they have a better schedule, and they should be ranked ahead. The other part, too, about this that's frustrating, Loudbeard, and we talked about this at the beginning of the season, with Nebraska getting that, for whatever reason, that top 25 ranking. If Minnesota started out the season in the same exact ranking that Nebraska did, or if Nebraska would have had Minnesota's schedule and Minnesota's success, they would be a top 3 team right now. No doubt about it.
Absolutely. Are you kidding me? They'd be number 1. They love Nebraska.
Yeah, they do love Nebraska, but they would definitely be a top 3 team.
This would be crazy. So I'm with you on that. And the crazy part is the last couple years, you and I, we were fighting that battle with UCF. Should be ranked higher. Should be ranked higher. This is a Power 5 team. The problem is they're not historically a good Power 5 team. So now we're now just saying, okay, it's not good enough to be Power 5. You have to be Power 5 with the Power 5 branding, that top name brand like in Alabama,
that
to be
brand name
good
that
enough.
moves the needle and brings the eyes and brings the money.
Yep. You
Like
know,
Mike
even though
Verlon said,
Minnesota beat Penn State.
Yeah. No, none of that really actually matters in college football. None of that. Whatever happens on the field, the only thing that matters on the field is how we can use that to spin whatever narrative we need to put the top brands into the college football playoff. Again, I say this. College football is a lot closer to the WWE than it is the NFL as far as how it
So
decides
true.
the champion.
Yeah, you're so right on that. And here's just looking at this AP poll. This is the other fact that we talked about last week quite a bit. But the ACC has one team in the top 25. Still, just one team when you're looking at the AP poll. And it is Clemson. And they are sitting at number 3. But that conference, we're calling it a Power 5 conference, but it is really just a Power 1 team and a very bad conference outside of that one team. And so Clemson's sitting there, but a team or a conference like the American sits with 4 teams in the top 25. And those 4 teams are 4 really good teams, none of which are UCF. By the way, who had that awful loss to Tulsa on Friday night, which is depressing. I don't really want to talk about it. Thanks for bringing it up. I brought it up to myself. But, yeah, none of which was UCF. And UCF probably could have climbed, maybe hit that 25 spot if they would have won against Tulsa, sitting with, just 2 losses. But, at this point, lost to Tulsa. They're out. But you got other good teams, SMU, Cincinnati, Memphis. I mean, these are great teams. And the American is looking good with 4 teams. And Pac-12, only 2 teams in the top 25. So you're looking at ACC and the Pac-12 with a combined total of 3 teams in the top 25 and the American Athletic Conference with 4 teams. I'm just pointing this out.
No, you're right. And all 4 of those teams would be just as, if not far more competitive than Boston College, Florida State, Louisville, NC State. These are all the teams that Clemson's been beating up on. And again, let's compare schedules. Minnesota and Clemson. Where is Clemson's great win over a great team? They don't have one, yet somehow they're 3, and Minnesota is at 7.
Yeah, Clemson, it's a tough story because they won the national championship last year, right? So this is us saying, okay, we don't look at previous success, but we do. Wink, wink.
Right.
This is the college football playoff committee, the AP polls, the coaches polls saying we really don't look at it from previous years. It doesn't matter. It's what you do this year. And yes, Clemson is undefeated, and they deserve all the credit for being undefeated. But we're going to make the argument that strength of schedule is so important. And if it wasn't a team with the brand recognition of a Clemson, they're basically playing Baylor's schedule, and Baylor's sitting at 12 with an undefeated schedule, and then Clemson is sitting at 3. I mean, I don't know that Baylor's schedule isn't harder than Clemson's if you look at it. So what is it that we're looking at that puts Clemson at number 3 other than historical performance and brand name?
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the ACC and the teams they've played, like 4-5 for UNC, 2-7 for Georgia Tech, 5-4 for Louisville, 5-5 for Florida State, 5-5 for Boston College, 4-5 for NC State, and 3-6 for Syracuse. Those are their opponents' records in the ACC. They don't have a combined winning record. It's insane to me, Loudbeard, and that's one of the reasons why I just listed off over half of the ACC or close to half the ACC, and none of them, only one of them or 2 of them have like a record above 500, just above 500. And that's why none of them are in the top 25.
Yeah, this is the same old story, right? Each year we go through this. We we dance around with how are they coming up with these rankings? Why is a team like Clemson up so high? Why are we giving so much love to an Alabama that just got beat on a national stage? Why? I don't. The answers are just because it's always been done that way, and it's dangerous. That's a dangerous way to determine a champion, and college football gets away with it. And your quote or your saying about the WWE and college football being very similar, and you're right. You're right. You're having somebody pull the strings and really dictate how this is going, and the college football's not much different.
Yeah. The outcomes of the games are not scripted, but the outcome of like how they perceive the games are what's scripted. It's kind of like when a wrestler gets injured in the middle of a match, and so they have to change the storyline really fast and spin it and everything else to where, okay, this wasn't the outcome we were expecting, but this is what we're gonna do. So we're going to roll with this storyline now. And that's what happens. Clemson loses to Syracuse. All right, what are we going to do? Let's roll with this storyline about how, let's pump Syracuse up. Let's make Syracuse look like they're a really good football team. And let's make Syracuse a quality loss for Clemson and put them back in. Oh, no, Alabama lost. And their defense looked really bad. Like, their defense got shredded. But let's just pump up how they almost came back and they almost won. And LSU is the number 1 team and blah, blah, blah. So we'll keep them at number 4.
Yeah, it's just that narrative that we can continue to come up with ways to make the college football narrative continue to hype up the teams that we want to hype up, the teams that we think are going to sell more ratings, and the teams that are going to make more money in our pockets, because we're afraid that what if we put Minnesota into the college football playoff and that fan base doesn't draw like we think that a team like a Georgia or a team like Oregon might draw. That's
right.
Just, it's bogus, man. It is so bogus because we're worried more about money than it to be fair competition. And to me, fair competition and having the best teams on the field, to me, is way more important than the money. But unfortunately, we live in a society of greed, and college football is really just a greedy, dirty sport. I said it.
And what's funny about them always going back to it's all business, it's all money, it's all greed. Like, you're allowed to do that in America. These are all supposed to be not-for-profit organizations. These aren't big-time corporations. These are state universities claiming that they need more and more and more and more money. And then they want to turn around and be like, "What? We don't want to pay the players." We won't go on to that, but it's just asinine, Loudbeard. If you're going to be a corporation that's all about greed, then you got to join the capitalistic society of greed. Don't be like, I want to dip one foot into the greed pool, but the other dip I want to still say that I'm not for profit and amateur sport. You don't get it both ways.
Yeah, it's true though. It's absolutely true. Oh, Chris America.
Well, Loudbeard, like they say on Whose Line Is It Anyways at the beginning of every show, is that the points don't matter and the rules are made up as we go, or something like that.
Yep.
We make up the rules as we go and the points don't matter anyways.
Yeah. Now, this is kind of how college football is going. And I'm going to make one last push here for Baylor. Maybe, just maybe, Chris America, Baylor might actually have a chance to get into this thing. Are they still on sanctions? I can't even remember from that whole Art Briles thing.
I don't think so, because nobody's bringing that up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all been cleared up. So here's the situation with Baylor. They've got some quality wins. I don't know why they're just sitting at 12. Now, they beat an Iowa State team that is 5-4. So, okay, so that's pretty good. They've beat Kansas State, who's 6-3. They've beat Oklahoma State, who's 6-3. And, yeah, none of these teams are big programs right now that are sitting in, like, top 10 or anything. They beat West Virginia. They beat TCU, who right now is 4-5. So, yeah, those are pretty good wins.
It sounds like their schedule is just a little bit better than Clemson's schedule.
It is. It is. And it's not a great schedule, but it is a tougher and better schedule than Clemson. Now, maybe the difference is they're not blowing some of these teams away. Most of their wins have been very close. They're looking at like 23-21, 33-30, 17-14, 29-23. Like, all of their games have been relatively close. They're not blowing anybody out of the water. but winning is winning. Now they do have Oklahoma, Texas, and Kansas coming up. Okay, maybe I'll take Kansas off of that. They've got Oklahoma and Texas coming up. If they could get wins over Oklahoma and Texas, I don't see how you don't put Baylor up in the top 5, top 6, top 7. Maybe even squeeze them into the top 4, depending on how some of these other teams end up shaking out. Because we could see, Georgia losing to an Alabama in a conference championship. Well, maybe not, because maybe LSU would be there. But I don't know. These teams got to be playing each other. Some of these SEC teams that are towards the top got to play each other. And so we might see Baylor sneak in there. Same thing with Minnesota. Minnesota's got a good schedule coming up. They got to play Wisconsin, who, they've fallen a little bit out of that top spotlight, but that's another good team. So what if we see an undefeated Baylor and an undefeated Minnesota and an undefeated Clemson and an undefeated LSU, but we still have Alabama with 1 loss and we still have Georgia with 1 loss? Or, what do we do there?
Yeah.
You know what they do? SEC teams in, everybody else out. That's what happens.
Because SEC draws. That's all it is to it. It's funny. I'm looking at Minnesota's schedule. They struggled more against South Dakota State, Fresno State, and Georgia Southern than they have with their Big Ten schedule. It was 28-21, 38-35 in overtime against Fresno, and then 35-32 against Georgia Southern. And then you get into their Big 12 schedule: 40-17 Illinois, 34-7 Nebraska, 42-7 Rutgers, 52-10 Maryland, and then 31-26. And that was they were up comfortably most of the game against Penn State. And that's why I'm pumping them so hard, is because they didn't just beat Penn State. They beat Penn State.
Yeah, I love it. Now we have a tweet coming in. Memphis Spence, thank you for listening in. He says, Scout Team Radio, Baylor is the new UCF. The CFB playoff committee won't put them in. Yeah, I agree with that. I think Minnesota falls into that category too. But yeah, maybe Baylor even worse. But yeah, I want these underdog, undefeated teams that have shown it on the field to get the respect they deserve. Maybe it's because I am a bleeding heart and I've lived through this UCF travesty the last 2 years. Maybe that's why, but I'm all in on Minnesota and Baylor. I am all in on these teams.
Let's do it, man. Let's watch the system come down. Let's watch the system be exposed by these two teams. That's what I want to see. I want to see this committee be forced to make a decision between Minnesota and Baylor and 2 SEC teams. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, 2 one-loss SEC teams. If these 2 teams, Baylor and Minnesota, come in undefeated, and that would be such an ideal situation, because then you really get to see what the chops of this college football playoff committee really have. Because when you look at it, they're all Power 5 teams, so then we don't get the argument of one conference is better than another. Because then if you say SEC's better, well, guess what? Big Ten is sitting there with more teams in the top 25 and more quality wins over good opponents than some of these SEC teams have, because the SEC has teams like Arkansas, which Arkansas poached a coach from the American Athletic Conference, and then they were absolutely garbage with him and had to fire him over the weekend. So guess what? That's what you get, SEC. That you deserve that.
I think Minnesota just needs to hope that they need to become big-time Ohio State fans. They need Ohio State to beat Penn State and beat Michigan. They cannot have Ohio State coming in with 2 losses into that Big Ten championship game, or I guess if they had 2 losses, then they'd have to play Penn State again. Which then, if they beat Penn State again, that would put Penn State with 2 losses as well, and that would be their excuse to say, well, you didn't really play anybody in the top 4, and Alabama did. So,
it's funny how that always works out, isn't it? They just kind of somehow make it all work out where the SEC is going to get 2 teams in the top 4. This is the year that I absolutely do not want 2 SEC teams in the top 4. I don't know why. Last year I didn't want it either, but this year I'm really saying it. There are plenty of other good teams out there. We do not need 2 SEC teams. I am good with 1 SEC team making it. I am absolutely good with that. I'm actually good with 1 ACC team making it. But that one, it's questionable.
Yeah,
Clemson,
Yeah.
If they go undefeated, they can make it.
Yeah, I think if anything, the odd man out is going to be the Pac-12 if they do put 4 separate conferences in. I just don't know that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Poor,
That's
poor
tough.
Oregon.
It had one
They
loss
have-
to Auburn
they have
in the
their-
first game
yeah,
of the season.
Yeah, they have their quality loss to Auburn, and it doesn't count the same when you're in the Pac-12 as it does when you're in the SEC or
Yeah,
in the ACC.
That's true. That's true. Alabama can lose to LSU, but Oregon loses to Auburn. It's like, oh no, nope, that's a bad Oregon team. Even though it's the first game of the season, when you lose the first game of the season and then you run the table, like that should count way more than losing, the 10th game of the season, because you just have less time to climb your way back in, unless you're Alabama, and basically you don't have to ever climb your way back in because you're giving it, and you're not having to earn it. So just saying, just throwing that out there.
Well, Loudbeard, on the other side of the break, we'll talk about another football league where the games that were played this weekend actually matter, and there's no narrative to who's making the playoffs.
Novel concept. Hey, Kawhi, what are you laughing at, man? This isn't funny. Fantasy sports reimagined. FanDuel, that's what I'm talking about. It is more than just fantasy sports. It's the best way to watch the games, win real cash, and bring the action right to your living room. Just choose a contest, make your picks, watch, and win. And if you go to FanDuel.com/STR today, you can get a $5 deposit bonus. Once again, that's FanDuel.com/STR. Come on, man. This is not a laughing matter. If you've been listening to Scout Team Radio for a long time, you know that myself, Loudbeard, has placed a bet or two in his day. That's right, I've lost the beard bet, I lost the romper bet, but one place I don't like losing is when I bet money, and I can easily do that at MyBookie. That's right, you can go to mybookie.ag, use promo code 12OZSports, and get a 100% deposit bonus up to $1,000. Hey, guess what? That is a lot of money. Do it.
When I'm working hard, I build up a thirst for sports. That's when I grab a cold 12-ounce sports radio. 12-ounce sports radio. Quench your sports thirst.
Hey everybody, it's your favorite Patriot, Chris America, and I want you to listen every single weekday, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., and on replays from 11 a.m. to noon of Scout Team Sports. Listen, George Washington did not cross over the ocean blue in 1492 to defeat the Nazis, so you can listen to the same tired national clickbait sports stories. So once again, tune in to us every single morning, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., and then we replay from 11 to noon. I will see you there, and God bless America.
Ooh, welcome back. Thank you all for listening in. Once again, we are Scout Team Radio, bringing it to you hot and live each and every morning, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. here on 12-Ounce Sports Radio. We also simulcast on the Full Press Radio Network, part of the Barn Burner Podcast Network. We're basically all over the place. We're a big deal, and keep listening. We appreciate the support. If you can't catch us live, we do have that podcast. You can go download that podcast anywhere you find podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Google Play. I can list them all, but I'm not going to. I've already listed 3 of them. That was more than enough. You get the picture. Go download that podcast. Lastly, we do like to get interactive on Twitter. Hit us up, our good friend and listener and just all-around great guy, Memphis Spence, hitting us up on Twitter this morning. He's tweeting at us. You can tweet at us, too, at Scout Team Radio. We love the interaction. We love getting your feedback. And we love looking at Twitter. Right now I'm looking at Antonio Brown's Twitter. He's saying, retweet if you want me back in the NFL. Like if I should wait till 2020. The likes, 50,000 likes compared to 25,000 retweets. So double the votes for Antonio Brown to wait to 2020. So this is what Twitter's all about. We get to get the real answers here. We get to find out what Antonio Brown's going to do. And since we didn't get enough retweets and we got more likes, it looks like Antonio Brown is going to wait to 2020. But I'm going to go ahead and retweet it. One more vote for the retweets. There we go. Scout Team Radio, hit the retweet on Antonio Brown's Twitter tweet. So I want him back now.
You want him back now?
I want him back now.
Well, he's not going to come back. At least not this season, no matter what we vote. But some other wide receivers played this week in Loudbeard. Some other teams played. And, if there was an Alabama of the NFL to where if the NFL had a selection committee make choices, they would be sitting here spinning ways that the Dallas Cowboys have 4 quality losses. And they picked up their 4th quality loss yesterday against the Minnesota Vikings, who probably would be ranked 10 right now if we had this whole system going on. But they don't, Loudbeard. The Minnesota Vikings won. That counts towards something. And right now, I believe that they would be in the playoffs and the Dallas Cowboys would not be. Let me look at the standings. But what did you think about your boy Kirk Cousins beating up on the Dallas Cowboys?
Well, I think something that helps Kirk Cousins out, and I think you're going to like where I go with this, is the fact that they have the number 1 leading rusher in the NFL in Dalvin Cook. Yes, I'm talking about former FSU running back. I mean, a team that had that explosive of a running back, and what did they do with them? But this guy in the NFL, number 1 leading rusher, and that helps Kirk Cousins because not only is he a fantastic runner, he also takes that little dump pass and runs it for about 20, 30 yards every time and helps out Kirk Cousins. So, yeah, Kirk Cousins is looking good, and I like that he's developing. I've always liked Kirk Cousins. Yeah, he's got his flaws. Yeah, I'm a Redskins fan, so there's some history there. But Kirk Cousins, ever since he got called out by his wide receivers, has been absolutely outstanding. And Dalvin Cook with that phenomenal rushing attack. I mean, this Minnesota team looks good. They look like they're primed for a severe playoff push. They might even make themselves headed towards the, championship, that super game. Can't say Super Bowl. I'll get sued by somebody. That super game. Can't say Super Bowl. And that could be where the Minnesota Vikings are heading. But I don't think the Dallas Cowboys are because I just have written down on my notes, Chris America, this is all I put. I don't even know that much about this game. All I know is it says Cowboys lose. That's all I wrote on here because that's all I wanted to talk about.
Well, I was a little bit off. They're not out of the playoffs just yet. They still have the NFC East number 1 spot, but they have the same record as the Eagles. So that is going to sort itself out. The Cowboys cannot afford to drop many games, though. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. The last time the Cowboys lost because the Minnesota Vikings, sitting at 7-3, have a firm spot and a win over the Cowboys, and the 7-2 Seahawks, which could be 8-2 after tonight's game, but they could be 7-3. Either way, they still have a better record than the Dallas Cowboys as it stands. So Cowboys cannot afford to lose any more games, Loudbeard, or they will go from this hot team where how about them boys or we are them boys to where are them boys? How come they're not in the playoffs?
Dim boys. That's a dumb thing to say, isn't it? I hate this. I hate these Cowboys.
It
fans.
really is. It's almost as it's just as annoying as who dat and who day. Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, the good news for the Cowboys is they're in the NFC East, so they've got the Redskins who have 1 win on their schedule, who are not going to catch the Cowboys, unfortunately. And you have the Giants who come out and get a big defeat against the New York Jets. So neither of these teams are competition for them. It's really right now a race. Cowboys versus the Eagles. the winner will get a playoff spot and win the conference. The other team will probably be left out of the playoff picture. So it's going to be an interesting competition as it comes down.
Loudbeard, the schedule doesn't get easier for the Cowboys. They have Patriots, they have Rams, and they have Eagles left on their schedule.
Yeah, that could be 3 more losses. They could end up being a 9-7 team, miss the playoffs, and that would be excruciating for those Cowboys.
And
fans.
even if they went 1-2 in those games, let's say they sneak one out against the Eagles, a 10-6 team, they got to hope the Eagles do bad too. Like, again, they don't have any wiggle room to not win this division and make a wild card.
Yep. Well, I'm going to go off on my team for just a second, Chris America. We had a bye week, the Washington Redskins, but
you didn't lose.
It was a great week. It was an absolute great week. We were sitting there with one loss, with several other teams that only had one loss, and it was getting a little dicey as far as the getting the high draft pick, right? But we got a little help this past week. We did. The Miami Dolphins with Ryan Fitzmagic have a 2-game winning streak and are now a game ahead of the Washington Redskins. That puts us back at the number 2 draft pick spot, Chris America. You know who else had 1 win? The Atlanta Falcons, and they go out and upset the New Orleans Saints. That puts them at 2 wins. That means my Washington Redskins now just have to compete with the Cincinnati Bengals. We got to lose out like we were planned on doing the entire season. We just had that one lucky win in the middle.
Loudbeard, I got some more good news.
Yeah?
The New York Jets, who had 1 loss, also went out
Yes!
and got another win.
Yes!
And they play your Redskins next week, so you can lose to them and give them another win.
Yes! Yes! That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say, Chris America. That is what it's all about. And this was a fantastic week for my Washington Redskins.
You know what else happened
great.
for your Washington Redskins this weekend?
What's that?
I have more good news for you, Loudbeer. Because the Bengals still lost. They got utterly embarrassed. They might be the winless team, right? So they might lock up number 1. But if you turned on that SEC football game between Alabama and LSU, you're sitting there thinking as a Redskins fan, you know what? I could take either of these 2 guys and be pumped up and excited.
That's
Tua
right.
and Joe Burrow.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have. Now here is the one situation that I want to go ahead and point out. I looked at the Bengals schedule and I said, this looks like a bad team. Yeah, they lost big to the Ravens, but the Dolphins lost big to the Ravens earlier in the season, and we thought they were left for dead, but they've come back with a 2-game winning streak. I think the Bengals have a chance. And I just want to say, with some of the remaining opponents that they have, they do still play the Jets, they play the Dolphins, and they get the Cleveland Browns twice. So I'm just saying, out of those 4 games,
that's true.
There is one of those games. All 4 of them are very winnable. All of the 4 of those games are very winnable.
So I think what you guys need to do as the Washington Redskins is on first down, you run the wishbone. Second down, you take a knee. Third down, you spike the football. And then fourth down, punt.
I mean, you're coaching better than Jay Gruden ever did.
That's how I would do it. Or just punt on third down. Just pretend like it's the CFL. You only get 3 downs. The entire game. Just, hey, we're pretending like we're a CFL football team, and we're punting on every third down. So wishbone first down, take a knee second down, punt on third down.
Yeah, when you're a fan, sometimes you have to find things to cheer for. And I've seen people put out there the tanking for Tua motto, but I'm here I want a high draft pick. I want a top 2 draft pick is what I want. I can live with number 2. If I have to get number 1, you know what? I'm good with that. I don't want 5. I don't want 4. I don't want 7. I want 1 or 2 because we need a damn quarterback. We can trade Dwayne Haskins for a 7th-round pick and basically blow our first-round pick from last season because that's probably what's going to happen.
You know what, Loudbeer? Stop looking in the past. No more looking in the past. Look towards the future. the number 17 pick from last year. It's gone. You can never have it back. So, but right now you have the number 2 pick. And Mike Verlon is saying that his Bengals, his god-awful Bengals, are lock solid with that number 1 pick. But he also says that they'll screw it up, so you're still good at number 2. And I just wish that your Redskins played the Bengals this year, because I think that would be a hilarious bet between your two as far as to which team loses. The other, like, if your team wins, you have to do the punishment, the wheel of punishment or whatever. I think that'd be awesome.
It's one of those situations where I feel a little bit of a connection with Mike Berlon right now, because both of our teams are so terrible. We're sitting in the same boat.
Right.
We're like sitting here thinking,
and now you guys are arguing as to which team is worse.
Yeah.
No, my team is worse.
Yeah, but when you look at strength of schedule, and if you were to get 12 guys into a room to discuss it, I don't know if the Redskins, they might actually get the Bengals on this one. Who knows? But right now, Bengals sitting with that number 1 lock. But yeah, Mike Berlon, I'm sorry to say this. If you play the Browns twice, the Jets, and the Dolphins, you might accidentally happen on a win or two, and things might get real interesting if that happens. I don't know who has the tiebreak, though. If the Redskins and the Bengals each have 1 win at the end of the season, who gets that tiebreak? How do you just determine that when there's not the head-to-head?
I think they take a Bengal tiger and the Washington Redskins mascot, and they just have them fight in a cage.
Oh, come on. You want a Bengal tiger to tear up a Native American?
No, I said the mascot.
What
I
do you
didn't
think
say
it is?
Native American. I'm not the one that's going to go down the racist route.
You want a Redskin?
Like you are.
A Redskin to get in there?
Nope. Didn't say that.
Is that what you just said? Yes,
you said it,
I
not
heard you
me.
say
You're the
that.
one with
I
the
heard you
racist
say-
team. Don't
I
try to
heard
put
you
your
say that.
racism on. Don't put that evil on me, Bobby.
Well, this has been the Racist Hours.
Hold
sponsored
on a
by
second,
Chris America.
Loudbeard. What? We buried the lead. Like 20 feet under, we buried the lead. McDonald's has a McCafe donut sticks now
What?
with chocolate
Why, so you
sauce.
can dip it into your McCafe while you're drinking
well,
it?
it's got chocolate sauce that comes with it. Just for the holidays. See,
I buried that lead on purpose. That's
that's winning right
McDonald's.
there. That's Coca-Cola comes out with cinnamon Coke for their no, that's not winning. Donuts with chocolate sauce, that's winning right there, Loudbeard.
Oh, well, all they need to do is get Patrick Mahomes to sponsor it like Hunt's Ketchup did, and that would really set it apart.
Also, I know Mike Verlon, his co-host Scotty Kaiser, really loves Drake. Like, huge Drake fan. He's going to he performed 6 songs at Camp Flog Gnaw last night. Or he's going to, I don't know. I really got to read these tweets before I give out the story. Oh, yeah. So he just did.
You're going all in on the Twitter stories. Here's a Twitter story for you. Did you end up watching Rick and Morty last night? Season 4
No,
premiered.
I gotta watch it. I didn't stay up.
I feel like I was lied
right?
to. I feel like I was lied to. I went and I was on Facebook and I saw something posted by the Chris America and it said, "I'm gonna watch Rick and Morty."
No, I said I'm here for it.
That doesn't mean the same thing.
No, it just means I'm here for it. It means I'm gonna watch it tomorrow when I'm off.
The bunch of bull honky is what that is.
You know what? I'm assuming it was great because Rick and Morty's awesome. I did go see Zombieland too this weekend with
how was
Little
that?
America. It's a fun movie, man.
Is it?
It's just as fun as the first movie. Landon said he
good.
actually liked the second one better, but that's coming from an 11-year-old who has like all 11-year-olds have like recency bias. So
Yeah.
but then again, like I thought it was a fun movie. They did enough to change it up. One of the big changes is they're not just regular zombies. The zombies have evolved and they've like given little nicknames to them as to what kind of zombies they are. So that was kind of cool to see just that little tweak. Just that little tweak. And then the storyline is still pretty much the same. Them and the 2 girls are kind of just at each other's throats and there's zombies attacking but it was still a fun movie. I love Woody Harrelson and just about anything he does, and he kills that Tallahassee character.
Yeah, actually, because Zombieland's on Netflix now, I started watching the first one the other day again, and I hadn't watched it in a long time because I was looking, and I think it came out in like 2012. I mean, we're talking
Yeah.
7 years in between movies. It's a
Yeah.
little too long on sequels. I hate when sequels wait that long to come out because you kind of lose a little bit of the perception of what the original story was. But I went back to watch the original Zombieland, and you forget how fun the storyline is. It's just a really watchable movie. You laugh during it. You're entertained by
You
it,
get
and
grossed
that's what
out
movies. Yeah, that's
because
what
they do
movies
a
are
lot
meant
of
to
that
be.
that gore stuff is great.
Yeah, like the over the top, so dramatic,
Yep.
gory. Like it can't be real, but it's like fun to watch. Like blood spraying out everywhere.
And
Yeah.
I'll give you one more reason. Like, unless you have a kid that like, that's one of the reasons why I went to it, was because I knew Landon would love it. I absolutely love taking Landon to the movies because he gets so into it. And it's so fun to watch him, more so than it is to watch the movie. But when it does come out on Redbox, because I will say this, it is a very much a Redbox movie. It's not something you have to go see unless you're an absolute Zombieland fan. Then you won't be disappointed. But Rosario Dawson is in this, and I love when she makes an appearance because ever since Clerks 2, I've been in love with her.
Oh yeah, I'm with you on that. She's been in a lot of great movies, and her roles in these movies have always been fantastic.
Yeah.
I loved her in Sin City. I thought she was
Yep.
fantastic in the original Sin City, and she was also amazing in The Rundown. She was in that with The Rock and Sean William Scott. So she was good in a lot of fun movies. I mean, I'm with you on that. I've been a huge fan of hers for a long time. She was also in some of those Netflix Marvel TV shows too. So pretty
Yeah.
good character, great actress, underrated actress. I'm gonna give her that.
Now, Luke Wilson, he killed his character in it, but part of me really wished it was Jason Lee instead of Luke Wilson. He was basically a counterpart to Woody Harrelson's character,
Oh, okay.
and when Jason Lee plays that rednecky cowboy type role, I find him to be the most hilarious out of all of like those awkward rednecky cowboy type guys.
So,
But Luke Wilson
what-
did do a good job playing the character.
yeah, Luke Wilson's a great actor, but what has Jason Lee been in lately? I feel like somebody's
Nothing.
missing
He's
the
been missing.
somebody's missing the boat with the Jason Lee. I mean, ever since
He-
My Name Is Earl, there's very
Yeah.
few things he's been in.
He was in a lot of stuff during that run too, and then once My Name Is Earl ended, I guess maybe he took a step back. I don't know. I
Yeah,
love My
and-
Name Is Earl.
And sometimes these actors become kind of like bit role actors, and once
Yeah,
you run your course as a comedic actor, like you're done. You basically get blacklisted. It's I don't know. It's kind of interesting. You know where you end up? You end up with on a Hallmark movie is where you end up. That's where you go to die.
is that what you spent your weekend doing, watching Hallmark movies?
Yeah, my wife and I we watched the Hallmark movies, getting ready for the holidays.
Okay.
It's almost Christmas time,
Yep.
and we were watching this like preview of the upcoming Hallmark movies, and we were looking at some of the actors in these, and they were all like actors from TV shows like Dawson's Creek, Party
Oh,
of
yeah.
Five, like
Mhm.
all those actors.
It used
are
to
in
have a lot of those Full House people. Aunt Becky, DJ, I think is in a lot of those Hallmark movies.
Well, she was hosting the show, so yeah, she was the Cameron,
Yeah.
Candace Burr,
right,
Cameron
right.
Burr, whatever. her
Nobody
name
cares. She's DJ.
Yeah, she's DJ Tanner. And the one character that I saw that was starring in one of them that threw me off the most was Adrian Grenier, who's the guy who starred in Entourage. And I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, you are now a Hallmark movie guy. Like,
Yeah.
you were huge in Entourage. Like, that whole run, that guy was on top of the world, but he hasn't done anything since then. So I guess eventually, when Hallmark calls, you say, all right, well, I can do Christmas movies the rest of my life.
What do you think is worse, being a band like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like a big band name, like maybe Third Eye Blind, right? Huge band in the 90s, super popular, and then you got to go play at the like Ohio State Fair. That's your like your biggest show. Do you think that's worse, or going from Entourage to Hallmark movie?
I don't know. In my real job working life, I ran into this guy. He said he used to be the drummer for Hall & Oates, and he was like a used car salesman, and he was like such an annoying prick. And I was like, dude, this is why you didn't make it big with Hall & Oates because they kicked you out because you're a total douchebag. So, yeah, live it up. Your one claim to fame, and he brought it up
to fame.
every chance he could bring it up. He's like, did you know that I was the drummer for Hall & Oates?
No way. That's you told me
cool.
last week, but I completely forgot.
Right. Like the 80s are calling. They want your ass back because we don't want you now because nobody gives a flying.
Honestly, though, like if I was the drummer of a band and then I could become a used car salesman, I'm never bringing up the fact that I have fallen that hard. Unless I got some cool story about how I just partied it up and just wasted all my money, but I lived the life. That's the only way I'm bringing that up. Well, thanks for joining our show. Hopefully we didn't bore you too much whining about the college football playoff committee again.
Yeah.
But it's just what we do. We're old men.
So if you and I were Hall & Oates, would you be Oates and I be Hall, or would you be Hall and I be Oates?
It loves me some apple cinnamon brown sugar oats.
Yeah, you look like an Oates.